Everyone was waiting for me to blow out the candles and make a wish. 60 candles. 60 years of playing a role that was written for me before I was even born. My family stood there, my successful sons, my beautiful daughters-in-law, my grandchildren running around in their Sunday best, all looking at me with that suffocating adoration they reserved for the perfect matriarch. They expected a speech about gratitude. They expected me to thank God for my health, for the legacy of my late husband, for the beautiful life we built in this mansion in the suburbs of Connecticut. But my only wish, the only prayer screaming in my head, was sitting at the back of the room, near the garden exit, swirling her drink with a look of resigned sadness. Clara. The woman they introduced to everyone as Aunt Clara, my best friend of 30 years. The woman who held my hand when my children were born, who dried my tears when my husband died, and who warmed my bed every Tuesday night for the last 2 decades while the world thought we were playing bridge. I looked at the microphone in my hand. It felt heavy, like a loaded gun. I could have just smiled. I could have thanked them for the diamond necklace, blown out the candles, and continued the lie until my dying day. It would have been safer. It would have been easier. But then I looked at Clara. She was wearing that navy blue dress I love, the one that matches her eyes. She looked down, avoiding my gaze, accepting her place in the shadows of my life. And something inside me broke. Not a bone, but a chain. A chain that had been rusting around my heart for 40 years. I realized that if I didn't speak now, if I didn't claim her in front of everyone, I would die without ever having truly lived. Before I tell you how I shattered my perfect family into a million pieces with just one sentence, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. Have you ever lived a lie to make others happy? Have you ever loved someone so much it hurt to keep it a secret? Please, tell me in the comments where you are watching from, and if you have ever felt the weight of a secret love or a hidden identity. I need to know I'm not the only one who waited too long to be brave. And please, subscribe to the channel and like this video, not for me, but for every woman who thinks it's too late to be herself. The party was exquisite. My eldest daughter, Catherine, had organized everything. White lilies, my favorite, a jazz band playing soft standards in the corner, caterers moving invisibly through the crowd with trays of hors d'oeuvres that tasted like money and pretense. I walked through the room like a ghost in my own life, accepting compliments. "You look radiant, Mom. 60 is the new 40, Helena. What a beautiful celebration." I smiled until my cheeks ached. I nodded, I played the part, but every sense was tuned to a frequency that only one other person in the room could hear. I knew exactly where Clara was at every second. I knew when she went to the bar. I knew when she was cornered by my nosy neighbor, Mrs. Gable, who was probably asking why she never married. I remembered the day we met. We were 30, both married, both trying to be good wives. We met at a PTA meeting for our kids. I spilled coffee on her blouse. She laughed, a deep, throaty laugh that made me feel things I didn't have a name for back then. We became friends. That safe, sanitized word. We raised our children together. We complained about our husbands together. And one rainy afternoon, when the house was empty and the thunder was shaking the windows, we stopped talking and started feeling. That was 30 years ago. 30 years of stolen touches in kitchens, of glances across crowded rooms, of girls' trips that were actually honeymoons we never got to have. My husband passed away 5 years ago, a heart attack. I grieved him, I did. He was a good man. But a part of me, a dark, selfish part, felt a spark of relief. I thought, maybe now we can stop hiding. But fear is a habit harder to break than smoking. My children were grieving, the society we lived in had expectations. What would people say became my mantra. So Clara and I stayed in the closet, buried under layers of widow's weeds and grandmotherly duties. But tonight was different. Tonight, looking at the number 60 on that cake, I felt the cold breath of time on my neck. I didn't have another 30 years. I might not have 10. Was I really going to let the love of my life die as my friend? Was I going to let her sit in the back row at my funeral, unable to hold my hand, unable to receive the flag, treated like a guest instead of a wife? My son David tapped his glass with a spoon. The sharp clink, clink, clink cut through the chatter. The room went silent. The jazz band stopped. "Speech!" someone yelled. "Speech for the birthday girl!" David handed me the microphone. He beamed at me, his face flushed with wine and pride. "To the best mom in the world," he said, raising his glass. "To the woman who taught us everything about dignity and family values." Dignity, family values. The irony tasted like bile in my throat. If he only knew that his values were the cage I had been pacing in for decades. I took the microphone. My hand was shaking so badly that the feedback whined through the speakers, making people wince. I looked at the crowd. I saw my daughter, checking her phone. I saw my grandchildren, bored, eyeing the cake. I saw the neighbors, the friends, the pillars of the community. They all thought they knew me. Helena, the widow. Helena, the saint. Then, I looked at the back of the room. Clara was standing there, near the French doors that led to the garden. She was holding her purse tight, like a shield. She looked at me, and her eyes were pleading. She was shaking her head slightly. "Don't do it," her eyes said. "Don't ruin this. We are fine. We are safe." She was trying to protect me. Even now, after 30 years of being the second choice, the shadow, the secret, she was trying to protect my reputation. She was willing to stay in the corner so I could stay on the pedestal. And that broke my heart more than any rejection could have. I realized I didn't deserve her protection. She deserved my courage. I took a deep breath. The scent of the lilies was overpowering, almost funeral-like. I cleared my throat. "Thank you," I said. My voice was weak, cracking. I sounded old. I hated it. I straightened my back. "Thank you all for coming. David, thank you for your kind words about values." The room was quiet. Too quiet. They sensed something was off. Usually I am polished, rehearsed. Tonight, I was unraveling. 60 years is a long time. Long enough to learn a few things. Long enough to make mistakes. And long enough to get tired. I saw my daughter, Catherine, frown. She stepped forward slightly. "Mom, are you okay?" I ignored her. I kept my eyes fixed on Clara. I have spent my life doing what was expected. I was a daughter, a wife, a mother. I wore the clothes you wanted me to wear. I said the prayers you wanted me to say. I lived the life you all applauded. I took a step off the small podium, moving closer to the center of the room. The guests parted, confused. But there is a part of my life, the biggest part, that none of you know. A part that I have kept hidden in the dark because I was afraid of losing you, afraid of your judgment, afraid of this moment. A murmur ran through the crowd. Is she sick? Is she dying? I am not dying. In fact, I think I am finally trying to be born. I turned my body so I was facing the back of the room, directly at Clara. The crowd turned with me, hundreds of eyes following my gaze to the woman in the navy blue dress, who was now trembling against the doorframe, tears streaming down her face. "You all know, Clara." My son David looked at Clara, then back at me, confusion written all over his face. "Aunt Clara? What about her?" "You call her Aunt Clara," I said, my voice rising, trembling with emotion. "You call her my best friend, my companion, the woman who never married because she was married to her career." I started walking towards her. The crowd parted like the Red Sea. I walked past my shocked children. I walked past the judgmental neighbors. I walked towards the only truth in the room. But she is not my friend. She is not my companion. Each word a hammer blow to the life I had built. I reached her. I stood in front of her. She was crying silently, begging me with her eyes to stop, and yet looking at me with so much love it took my breath away. I reached out and took her hand. Her hand was warm, familiar, my home. I laced my fingers through hers, lifting our joined hands for everyone to see. I turned back to my family, to the stunned silence of the party, holding the hand of the woman I loved. I looked my son directly in the eye, took a deep breath, and dropped the bomb that would destroy the silence of 60 years. She is the love of my life. She has been my partner for 30 years, and I am done apologizing for it. The silence that followed my declaration wasn't peaceful. It was violent. It sucked the air out of the room, leaving a vacuum where only the hum of the refrigerator and the distant catering tent and the terrified beating of my own heart existed. For a second, just one singular stretched second, nobody moved. It was as if I had cast a spell, freezing my family, my friends, and my neighbors in a tableau of suburban horror. I stood there, my hand gripping Clara's so tight I could feel the delicate bones of her fingers grinding against my rings, the very rings my husband had given me, now acting as brass knuckles in a fight for my soul. Clara was trembling, not a subtle shiver, but a full-body vibration that traveled up her arm and into mine. She was looking at the floor, unable to witness the destruction I had just unleashed. I knew she wanted to pull away. I knew every instinct in her body, honed by 30 years of invisibility, was screaming at her to run, to fade, to disappear into the garden and drive away before the first stone was cast. But I didn't let go. I anchored her. For the first time in 3 decades, I was the one holding us together in the light, refusing to let the shadows reclaim her. Then, the spell broke. It didn't break with a scream or a shout, but with a nervous, incredulous laugh. It came from David, my son, my golden boy. He stepped forward, his polished dress shoes clicking on the parquet floor, a smile plastered on his face that didn't reach his eyes. It was a terrifying smile, a rictus of panic and denial. He looked at the guests, then at me, then at the guests again, acting the part of the gracious host smoothing over a senile mother's gaffe. "Okay, Mom," David said, his voice booming a little too loudly, trying to fill the void. "Okay, that's quite a performance. You really had us going there for a second." He laughed again, looking around for validation. "Too much champagne, right? It's a hot day, the heat, the wine. 60 years old, it takes a toll." He was walking towards me with his arms open, not to embrace me, but to corral me, to guide me away from the microphone and away from Clara, like a shepherd moving a sick sheep away from the herd. "Let's get you some water, Mom. Why don't you sit down? Catherine, get Mom a chair." He was gaslighting the entire room. He was rewriting reality in real time because the truth was too grotesque for him to digest. He couldn't process that his mother, the woman who ironed his shirts and baked cookies for the PTA, was a sexual being, let alone a woman in love with another woman. To him, I was an institution, not a person. And institutions don't have secret lovers. "I haven't been drinking, David," I said. My voice was no longer shaking. The moment the truth left my lips, the fear had evaporated, replaced with a cold, hard clarity. "And I don't need a chair." David stopped 3 feet away from us. His smile faltered, the edges twitching. He looked down at our joined hands. His eyes narrowed, and for the first time, I saw the disgust. It wasn't just confusion, it was revulsion. He looked at Clara's hand in mine as if I were holding a dead rat. "Mom," he hissed, his voice dropping to a whisper so the guests wouldn't hear, although everyone was straining to listen. "Stop this. You are embarrassing yourself. You are embarrassing us. Let go of her hand." "No," I said. "Let go of her hand," he repeated, his voice harder, the command of a man who is used to be obeyed. "Aunt Clara, tell her to stop. This isn't funny anymore." Clara flinched. She finally looked up, her blue eyes swimming in tears. "David, please. She didn't mean—" "Don't you speak to him," I interrupted, squeezing Clara's hand sharper. "Don't you apologize, Clara. Not today, not ever again." I looked at my son, seeing the stranger he had become. "I am not embarrassed, David. I am proud. And if you are embarrassed, that is a reflection of your heart, not mine." The murmur in the room grew into a roar. The shock was wearing off, replaced with the juicy thrill of scandal. I saw Mrs. Gable whispering furiously to the Reverend's wife, her hand over her mouth, her eyes darting between me and the cake. I saw my daughter-in-law, David's wife, pulling their children away, ushering them towards the buffet table as if my homosexuality was contagious, an airborne virus that could infect her precious offspring if they stood too close. The jazz band began packing up their instruments, sensing that the party was unequivocally over. Catherine, my eldest, finally pushed through the crowd. She looked furious. Catherine was the keeper of the family image. She was the one who curated our Christmas cards, who made sure we were seen at the right charity galas. I had ruined her masterpiece. She walked right up to me, her face pale, her lips a thin line of red lipstick. "How could you?" She spat. She didn't whisper. She didn't care who heard. "Today? On your birthday? With all my friends here? With the mayor's wife here?" "Is that what matters to you, Catherine? The mayor's wife? I just told you I've been living a lie for 30 years. I just told you I've been lonely and hiding, and your first concern is the guest list?" "You're selfish," Catherine said, tears of rage pricking her eyes. "You are a selfish old woman. Dad hasn't even been dead that long. How dare you disrespect his memory like this, dragging his name through the mud with her?" She gestured at Clara with a flick of her wrist, a gesture of dismissal so profound it made my blood boil. "Your father knew," I lied. Or maybe I didn't. I never told him, but how could he not have known? The silence in our marriage was loud enough to fill a cathedral. And even if he didn't, my life didn't end when his did. I am still here, Catherine. I am still alive. "You're sick," David said, stepping closer, looming over us. He was physically intimidating now, using his height to try and cow me into submission. "Clara, you need to leave, now. Get out of my mother's house." Clara tried to pull her hand away again. "Helena, let me go," she sobbed softly. "I can't do this. I can't be the reason they hate you. Please, let me go." "You aren't going anywhere," I said, turning my body to shield her from David. "This is my house, David. My name is on the deed. I paid for this party. I paid for the suit you are wearing. Do not presume to tell my guests, my partner, to leave." The word partner hit the room like a physical blow. It legitimized it. It wasn't a fling. It wasn't a phase. It was a marriage in everything but paper.
David turned red, the veins in his neck bulging. He looked at Clara with pure hatred. It was easier for him to hate her than to hate me. If he hated me, he had to question his entire upbringing. If he hated her, she was just the predator who corrupted his mother. "You did this." He pointed a shaking finger at Clara. "You manipulated her. You took advantage of a grieving widow. You've been leeching off us for years, haven't you? Coming to our holidays, eating our food, pretending to be Aunt Clara, while you were twisting her mind." "Stop it!" I screamed, my voice cracked, raw and primal. "She saved me. When your father was distant, she was there. When you children left for college and never called, she was there. When I had cancer and didn't want to worry you, she drove me to chemo. She didn't twist my mind, she saved my life. The revelation about the cancer, a scare I had kept secret 5 years ago, silenced them for a moment. They didn't know. Of course they didn't know. I hadn't wanted to burden them. I had relied on Clara. Always Clara. The guests began to flee. It wasn't a polite exit, it was an evacuation. They muttered vague excuses, grabbing their purses and avoiding eye contact. Lovely party, Helena, but we must run. So sorry, emergency at home. I watched them go. 30 years of social climbing and community standing evaporating in minutes. I didn't care. Let them go. Let the chaff blow away. But my family remained, closing ranks. David, Catherine, and their spouses formed a semicircle around us. It felt like an interrogation. It felt like an execution. "We are going inside," David said, his voice low and dangerous. "We are going to the study, and we are going to fix this. Clara, you can wait in the car." "Clara comes with me," I said firmly. "She is not family," Catherine shrieked, losing her composure entirely. "She is the help. She is a parasite. She is not coming into Dad's study." I looked at my daughter, really looked at her. I saw the fear beneath the anger. She was terrified that her world was changing, that the stable foundation of her childhood was actually a fault line. I felt a pang of pity, but it was drowned out by the fierce, protective love I felt for the woman trembling beside me. "She is more family to me than any of you have been today," I said quietly. "If she doesn't enter the study, neither do I. We can finish this conversation right here, in front of the catering staff if you prefer." David clenched his jaw so hard I thought his teeth would crack. He looked at the few remaining waiters who were pretending to clean up glasses while eavesdropping on every word. He knew he had lost the battle for privacy. "Fine," he spat. "Inside, both of you." I squeezed Clara's hand one last time, a silent promise that I would not let them hurt her. "Are you ready?" I whispered to her. She looked up at me, her eyes red, her makeup running. She looked terrified, broken, and beautiful. She nodded just a fraction of an inch. "I'm scared, Elle," she whispered. "I know, me too, but we're done hiding." We began to walk toward the house. It felt like walking to the gallows. My children parted to let me through, but they didn't touch me. They recoiled as I passed, as if I were something foreign, something monstrous. As we crossed the threshold from the garden into the house, leaving the ruins of my birthday party behind, I knew that the woman who walked out of those doors earlier, Helena the matriarch, was dead. I didn't know who the woman walking back in was yet. I only knew that, for the first time in 60 years, she was holding the hand she wanted to hold. We entered the study. The heavy oak door slammed shut behind us, sealing us in with the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally, but who were looking at me now with the eyes of strangers. David walked to his father's desk, my desk now, though he never respected that, and leaned against it, crossing his arms. "So, how long? And don't lie to me, Mother. I want to know exactly how long you have been disgusting us." I raised my chin, pulling Clara to stand beside me, shoulder to shoulder. I took a breath to speak, to tell him the truth about the 30 years of love and light, but before I could get a word out, Clara stepped forward. She let go of my hand. She took a step toward David, her trembling stopping, a sudden strange calm descending over her. "It's not her fault, David," Clara said softly. "It's mine." "Clara, no!" I warned. She ignored me. She looked at my son, and for the first time I saw a flash of anger in her eyes too. "You are the one who pursued her. I'm the one who initiated it. If you want to hate someone, hate me. But don't you dare look at your mother like she's a criminal. She sacrificed her happiness for you for 40 years. David laughed, a cruel barking sound. Oh, how noble! The predator playing the martyr. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. I'm not interested in your stories, Clara. I'm interested in solutions. I'm calling Dr. Evans. He's a psychiatrist. He deals with elderly confusion and behavioral changes. You are calling no one, I said. I am, David said, dialing, because clearly you are not of sound mind. And until you are, I think it's best if I take power of attorney, for your own protection. My blood ran cold. It wasn't just rejection, it was a coup. I looked at Catherine, expecting her to object, to defend me. But she was nodding in agreement, her eyes cold and calculating. They weren't just hurt, they were greedy. They saw a scandal, but they also saw an opportunity to take control of the estate, the money, the life I had built. I realized then that I was fighting for my love. I was fighting for my freedom. I looked at Clara and then back at my son, who was holding the phone to his ear, waiting for the connection. I knew I had one card left to play, a secret even darker than my love life, a secret buried in the very desk David was leaning against. Put the phone down, David, I said, my voice dropping to a register they had never heard before, or I will tell everyone why your father really died.
The silence that followed my threat was different from the silence in the living room. That silence had been shocked. This silence was heavy, suffocating, loaded with the weight of a truth that had been rotting beneath the floorboards of this house for 5 years. David's thumb hovered over the call button on his smartphone. He looked at me, his eyes narrowing, trying to calculate if I was bluffing. He was a gambler, he always had been, but he was looking at his mother. And for the first time, he realized he didn't know the woman standing in front of him. He didn't know her cards. He didn't even know what game we were playing. "You're bluffing," David said, though his voice lacked the conviction it had held seconds ago. He lowered the phone slightly, but didn't put it away. "Dad died of a massive myocardial infarction in his sleep. The coroner's report said so. Dr. Evans signed it. You're spiraling, Mother. You're making up stories to distract us from the fact that you need help." "Dr. Evans signed it because I asked him to," I said, my voice steady, cold as the grave I was about to dig up. "Because Dr. Evans owed your father a favor from the country club incident in '98. Do you want to call him? Go ahead. Put him on speaker. Ask him about the bruising on your father's neck. Ask him about the toxicology report that never made it to the official file." Catherine gasped. It was a sharp intake of breath that sounded like fabric tearing. She stepped away from David as if he were radioactive. "Mom, what are you saying? Bruising? Toxicology?" "I'm saying that the narrative of the sainted Richard, the benevolent patriarch who died peacefully after a life of virtue, is a fairy tale I wrote for you." I walked past David, brushing against his arm. He flinched. I moved behind the heavy oak desk, the seat of power in this family for 40 years. I didn't sit in the chair. I stood behind it, placing my hands on the leather surface. And the villain of that story, David, isn't me. And it certainly isn't Clara. I looked at Clara. She was standing by the bookshelves, her arms wrapped around herself. She knew what was coming. She hated this part. She hated the memory of that night as much as I did, but she nodded at me, a silent permission. "Burn it down, Elle. Burn it all down." "Clara," I said softly, "open the safe." David laughed, a nervous, jagged sound. "She doesn't know the combination. Only Dad knew it. And you. We haven't been able to open that thing since the funeral." Clara didn't say a word. She didn't look at David. She walked past him with a quiet dignity that made him step back. She knelt before the large painting of a ship in the storm that hung on the east wall. She reached behind the frame, found the latch, and swung the painting open to reveal the steel safe embedded in the wall. Her fingers moved deftly over the dial, right to 18, left to 03, right to 25. The numbers of our birthdays, mine and hers, not his. Click. The sound of the tumblers falling into place was louder than a gunshot in the quiet room. David's face went slack. Catherine put a hand over her mouth. The fact that this woman, this outsider, this parasite, knew the combination to the family vault was a violation of their reality more profound than my confession of love. It meant she had access. It meant she had trust. It meant she had been inside the inner sanctum all along. Clara reached inside and pulled out a thick leather-bound ledger and a manila envelope sealed with red wax. She stood up and handed them to me. Her hands were steady now. We were in the trenches together, and she was my soldier. I threw the envelope on the desk. It slid across the polished wood and stopped right in front of David. "Open it," I commanded. David stared at the envelope. "What is this?" "The reason your father died. And the reason you are currently not serving 10 to 15 years in a federal penitentiary for embezzlement and fraud." David froze. The color drained from his face so fast it looked like the blood had been siphoned out of him. He looked at Catherine, who was staring at him with widening eyes. "David, what are she saying?" "She's lying," David stammered, but he didn't reach for the envelope. He backed away from it. She's inventing things. This is part of the dementia, paranoia, false memories." "Read it, Catherine," I said to my daughter. Catherine stepped forward, her hand shaking. She picked up the envelope and tore it open. She pulled out a stack of papers, bank statements, emails printed out, and a handwritten letter, the ink smudged in places as if by tears or sweat. "5 years ago," I began, my voice filling the room, narrating the nightmare. "Your father didn't go to sleep early because he was tired. He came into this study to meet with his accountant. He had found discrepancies in the firm's accounts, $2 million missing over the course of 18 months. I watched Catherine's eyes scan the papers. I saw the moment the realization hit her. Her jaw dropped. She looked up at her brother with horror. "David, these are transfers to your shell company, the one in the Caymans? It was an investment," David shouted, his facade cracking, the panic pouring out. "I was going to pay it back. It was a sure thing, a tech startup. I just needed liquidity. Dad knew. He knew I was good for it." "Dad didn't know." I cut him off, my voice sharp as a razor. "Not until that night. He confronted you, didn't he, David? You were here, in this room." David went silent. He looked at the rug, the Persian rug that covered the spot where his father had collapsed. "He called you. He told you he was going to the police. He told you that no son of his was going to steal from the family legacy. He was screaming. I heard him from the bedroom. Clara heard him from the guest room. We both ran downstairs. I closed my eyes for a moment, the memory vivid and visceral. The smell of scotch, the sound of rain against the window, the sight of my husband, purple-faced, clutching his chest, while his son stood there screaming at him, calling him a miser, a failure. We walked in just as he collapsed. He didn't die instantly. He was gasping, reaching for his pills,
The nitroglycerin was right there on the desk, right where you were standing, David. David was shaking his head, tears streaming down his face now. I couldn't find them. I panicked. You didn't panic, I said, my voice dropping to a whisper that carried more weight than a scream. You watched. You stood there and you watched him grasp for the bottle. You watched him knock it onto the floor and you didn't move. You watched his heart stop because you knew that if he lived, you were going to jail. And if he died, you inherited the company. No, David screamed, that's not true. I loved him. You let him die, I said. Clara and I found you standing over him. You were crying, yes, but you weren't performing CPR. You were trying to find the ledger, to destroy it. Catherine let out a sob, dropping the papers. She covered her face with her hands. Oh my God, David. I sent you out of the room. I told you to go to the kitchen and get water. And then I made a choice. A choice that has haunted me every single day for 5 years. I chose my living son over my dead husband. I told Clara to help me. We cleaned up the spilled scotch. We put the pills back in the drawer. We moved his body to the leather armchair to make it look like he fell asleep reading. And then we called Dr. Evans. I looked at Clara. She begged me not to do it. She told me you didn't deserve it. She told me that covering up your crime would poison us, but she did it anyway, because she loved me, because she couldn't bear to see me watch my son go to prison. I walked around the desk and stood toe to toe with David. He was broken now, a sobbing mess. The arrogant patriarch reduced to a frightened child. So do not dare to stand in my house,
In the house that Clara helped me save, and call her a parasite? The $2 million you stole? The company was bankrupt, David. We were going to lose everything. The house, the cars, Catherine's trust fund. I pointed at Clara. She sold her apartment in the city. She cashed out her retirement. She liquidated her portfolio. She put $2 million of her own money into the firm anonymously to plug the hole you made, just so the audit wouldn't catch you, just so we wouldn't lose this house. The silence returned, but now it was the silence of a crater after impact. Catherine looked at Clara with wide, stunned eyes. She looked at the woman she had treated like a servant, like a nuisance, like an embarrassment. You paid it back? Catherine whispered to Clara. You saved the company? Clara shrugged, a small, sad motion. I did it for Helena. I knew that if you lost the house, it would kill her. I looked at my children. You are not rich because of your father's legacy. You are rich because of my lover's generosity. Every vacation you took, every car you bought, the private schools for your children, it was all paid for by the woman you just tried to throw out of the house. David slumped against the desk, sliding down until he was sitting on the floor, his head in his hands. He was defeated. The threat of the psychiatrist, the power of attorney, the moral high ground, it had all evaporated. I took the microphone from the desk. I had carried it in with me, a talisman of my voice, and I set it down.
Now, I said, my voice calm, the storm finally passing, here is what is going to happen. You are going to leave, both of you. You are going to take your families and you are going to go home. Mom, Catherine started, reaching out a hand. No,
I said, stepping back. I don't want to hear it. Not today. I have spent 60 years listening to you, worrying about you, protecting you. Today is my birthday, and for the rest of this day, I am going to be with the only person in this room who knows the meaning of the word sacrifice. I walked over to Clara. I took her hand again. Get out, I said. Catherine grabbed David's arm and hauled him to his feet. He looked like a ghost. He couldn't meet my eyes. He couldn't meet Clara's eyes. They shuffled toward the door, the weight of the truth crushing their shoulders. At the door, she stopped. She turned back. She looked at me, and then she looked at Clara. There was confusion in her eyes, hurt, but also something else. Shame. "Happy birthday, Mom," she whispered, and then they were gone. The heavy oak door clicked shut. The sound echoed in the large, book-lined room. For a long time, neither of us moved. The adrenaline was fading, leaving behind a deep, bone-weary exhaustion. My knees felt weak. I swayed slightly. Clara was there instantly. Her arms went around me, holding me up, her familiar scent of vanilla and old paper grounding me. "You did it. You actually did it." I buried my face in her neck, and the tears finally came. Not tears of sadness, but tears of release. Decades of tension flowing out of me. "I'm sorry," I sobbed. "I'm sorry I waited so long. I'm sorry they treated you like that." "Shh," she soothed, rocking me back and forth. "It's over. They know. The world knows. We're free, Elle. We're finally free." We stood there for a long time, holding each other, in the room where my husband died, reclaiming it as the room where we finally started to live. The house was quiet. The party outside had dispersed. The jazz band was gone. The caterers had packed up. It was just us. Eventually, Clara pulled back. She wiped my tears with her thumbs, her touch tender. "You must be exhausted. Let me get you a drink. A real drink, not that champagne punch." She walked to the small bar in the corner of the study. I watched her move, admiring the way the light caught her silver hair, the grace of her movements. I felt a surge of love so powerful it almost knocked me over. I was 60 years old, my family was in ruins, my reputation was destroyed, and I had never been happier. Clara poured 2 glasses of brandy. She turned to hand me one, a small smile playing on her lips. "To being born at 60, she said, raising her glass. "To us," I replied. I took a sip. The brandy burned pleasantly in my throat. I looked around the room, feeling the shift in the atmosphere. The ghosts were gone. The secrets were out. But just as I was about to relax, just as I was about to suggest we go upstairs and wash the day away, the phone on the desk rang. It was the landline. Only a few people still called the landline. I looked at Clara. She frowned. "Ignore it," she said, but the ringing persisted. Loud, insistent, like an alarm. I walked over to the desk. I looked at the caller ID. It wasn't David. It wasn't Catherine. It was a number I didn't recognize. Area code 202, Washington, D.C. I picked up the receiver. "Hello? Mrs. Helena Vance?" A man's voice, deep, professional, cold. "Yes. This is Special Agent Miller with the FBI Financial Crimes Division. We've been trying to reach your husband's estate executor for some time regarding an offshore account in the Caymans linked to a David Vance. We just received a flagged alert that the safe deposit box associated with the account was accessed." My blood ran cold. The safe, when Clara opened it, it must have been wired. My husband, in his paranoia, must have installed a silent alarm connected to the account monitoring. I don't know what you're talking about." "Mrs. Vance, don't hang up," the agent said. "We have reason to believe that the funds used to cover up the embezzlement 5 years ago were not entirely clean. We are opening a RICO investigation into the Vance family assets. We have agents on their way to your residence now." I dropped the phone. It dangled by its cord, swaying back and forth like a pendulum, counting down the seconds. I looked at Clara, who was sipping her brandy, smiling at me, thinking the war was over. She didn't know. She didn't know that by opening the safe to save me from my son, we had just invited the federal government into our living room. I realized with a sick feeling that David's theft was just the tip of the iceberg. The money Clara had donated, where had she gotten $2 million in cash so quickly? And why was the FBI interested in her contribution? I looked at the woman I had loved for 30 years and realized that while I had been hiding my love, she might have been hiding something far more dangerous. Clara, I whispered, the room spinning. Where exactly did that money come from?
You do know me, she said, grabbing my shoulders. Her grip was hard, desperate. I am the woman who has loved you more than her own soul. I committed crimes for money, yes, but I committed the biggest crime of all, reopening that account for love. Please, Helena, throw me to the wolves. Save yourself. It's the only way one of us survives this. The front doorbell rang. It wasn't a polite ring, it was a long, continuous press, followed immediately by heavy pounding on the wood. FBI, open up. The shouting came from the foyer. I could hear the confusion of the catering staff who were still loading the truck in the driveway. I heard the heavy thud of boots on the hardwood floor of the hallway. They hadn't waited for me to answer. They had breached the door. Clara let go of me. She smoothed her dress. She wiped her eyes. She picked up her glass of brandy and downed it in one swallow. She stood up straighter, transforming before my eyes from the desperate lover back into the cool, detached Aunt Clara. Remember, she whispered, not looking at me. I am the villain. Let me be the villain. The study door burst open. It wasn't just one agent. 6 of them flooded the room. They were wearing windbreakers with FBI emblazoned on the back in yellow letters, guns drawn but pointed low. The contrast between their tactical gear and the cozy book-lined study was jarring, a violent intrusion of reality into my sanctuary. In the center of them was a man in a cheap suit, looking tired and sharp-eyed, Agent Miller. He scanned the room, taking in the open safe, the papers on the desk, the weeping woman, me, and the stoic woman, Clara. Helena Vance? He asked, holstering his weapon but keeping his hand near it. I am Helena Vance, I said. My voice trembled, but I stood my ground. And you must be Clara Reynolds, Miller said, turning his gaze to Clara. He didn't ask. He stated. He looked at her with a strange mixture of recognition and triumph. Or should I say, the wraith. Ms. Reynolds is fine. We have a warrant for the seizure of all assets and documents related to the Vance estate and the personal holdings of Clara Reynolds, and arrest warrants for both of you. Both of us? I gasped. I didn't do anything. I just found out. Save it for the interview room, Mrs. Vance. Miller walked over to the desk and picked up the ledger Clara had tried to hide. He flipped it open. We got a very interesting call from your son, David, about 20 minutes ago. He seems to think you and Ms. Reynolds here have been running a shell game with the family company for decades. He claims he was just a pawn who discovered the truth tonight. I felt the blood drain from my face. David, my son, he hadn't just run away. He had run straight to the authorities to cut a deal. He had thrown his mother and her lover into the fire to save himself from the embezzlement charges. He had spun the narrative before I even had a chance to speak. He told them we were the masterminds and he was the victim. That's a lie, I screamed. He killed his father. He let him die to hide his theft. We'll look into that, Miller said dismissively. But right now, the money trail leads straight to this lady. He nodded at Clara. 2 agents moved in, grabbing Clara's arms. They pulled them behind her back. The sound of handcuffs ratcheting shut was sickeningly loud. Don't hurt her, I said instinctively, stepping forward. Stay back, ma'am, an agent barked, putting a hand on my chest to stop me. Clara looked at me. Her face was a mask of calm, but her eyes were screaming. Say it, her eyes said. Say you didn't know. Mrs. Vance, Agent Miller said, turning his attention to me, you have the right to remain silent, but I suggest you start talking. Your son has given us a lot of ammunition. He says you authorized the transfers. He says the offshore account was set up in your name, with Ms. Reynolds acting as proxy. My knees gave way. I grabbed the back of the leather armchair to stay upright. David had set me up. He hadn't just stolen money, he had framed me for it. He must have forged my signature. He must have been planning this contingency for years. I never signed anything, I stammered. We have documents that say otherwise. Cuff her. Another agent approached me. He grabbed my wrist, the wrist that still bore the bruise from where I had gripped the microphone so tightly earlier that day. He spun me around. Cold metal bit into my skin. "Helena!" Clara shouted as they began to drag her toward the door. Tell them about the cancer. Tell them I paid the doctors in cash. Prove you didn't have access to the money." "Quiet," the agent holding her yelled. As they marched us out of the study, past the horrified faces of the few remaining staff, past the remnants of my birthday cake sitting untouched in the hall, I realized the tragedy wasn't just that I was going to prison. It was that in my attempt to finally live a life of truth, I had walked straight into a trap laid by the lies of everyone around me. We were led out into the cool night air. The flashing lights were blinding. Neighbors were gathered at the end of the driveway, phone cameras raised, recording the downfall of the Vances. I saw Mrs. Gable, her mouth open in glee. I saw the mayor's wife shaking her head. They put Clara in the first car. I saw her silhouette through the window, head bowed. They shoved me into the second car. The door slammed shut, sealing me in a cage of hard plastic and stale air. As the car pulled away, I looked back at my house, my beautiful, perfect house. The lights were still on in every room, blazing like a funeral pyre. Agent Miller got in the front seat of my car. He turned around to look at me through the wire mesh. "You know, Mrs. Vance, it's funny. We've been tracking the Wraith, your friend Clara, since 1989. She vanished off the grid. We thought she was dead. We never suspected she was playing house in Connecticut with a socialite." But here's the thing that doesn't add up. David's story is typed. He has the paperwork. But there's one file he gave us that he didn't read properly. A file from 30 years ago. I stared at him, my heart hammering against my ribs. "What file?" "Incorporation papers," Miller said. "For the Vance Corporation. Your husband founded it, right?" "Yes," I whispered, "in 1990. "Wrong," Miller said. "The company was founded in 1990, yes, but the initial capital investment, the seed money that started it all, it didn't come from Richard Vance. It came from a silent partner, a partner who owned 51% of the company from day one."
Rehook, cliffhanger. Miller held up a photocopy of an old document against the wire mesh. I squinted in the flashing light to read it. My breath caught in my throat. The signature at the bottom wasn't Richard's. It wasn't mine. It was Clara's. "She didn't just save the company 5 years ago, Mrs. Vance," Miller said, watching my world disintegrate. "She owned it. She owned your husband. She owned the house you slept in. And unless I miss my guess, she owned you too." I looked at the taillights of the car ahead of us, where Clara sat, and I realized with a horror that eclipsed everything else, I hadn't just been sleeping with a criminal. I had been sleeping with my owner. And David wasn't the only one who had been played. The receiver slipped from my fingers, swinging like a hanged man at the end of its coiled cord, bumping rhythmically against the mahogany desk. Thud, thud, thud. It was the only sound in the room, a dull metronome marking the countdown to my destruction. RICO investigation. Financial crimes. The words bounced around my skull, colliding with the image of Clara standing there, sipping her brandy, looking so serene, so relieved, so utterly unknown to me. I looked at her, really looked at her, For 30 years, I thought I knew the geography of her soul better than my own. I knew how she took her coffee, black, 2 sugars. I knew she cried at old Kodak commercials. I knew the scar on her knee from a bicycle accident in 1974. But as I stared at her now, bathed in the warm, deceitful glow of the library lamps, I realized I was looking at a stranger wearing the face of the woman I loved. $2 million, cash, liquidated in 24 hours to save a sinking company. How does a woman who worked as a mid-level logistics consultant for a shipping firm, a job she complained about being boring for decades, have access to that kind of capital? And why was the FBI treating her contribution like a radioactive isotope? Helena? Clara lowered her glass. The smile faded from her lips, replaced by that sharp, bird-like alertness I had always attributed to anxiety, but now recognized as something else. Survival instinct. Who is that? You look like you've seen a ghost. I have, I whispered. My voice sounded hollow, distant. I think I'm looking at one right now. I walked around the desk, my legs heavy as if I were wading through water. I stopped a few feet from her. I didn't want to be close enough to touch her. I was afraid that if I touched her, I would either strangle her or collapse into her, and I couldn't afford to do either. That was the FBI, Clara. Her eyes didn't widen. She didn't gasp. She didn't drop her glass. Instead, a veil seemed to drop behind her eyes, a shutter closing. She set her brandy down on the side table with a steady hand, using a coaster. Even at the end of the world, she used a coaster. I see, she said. Her voice was calm, terrifyingly calm. What did they want? They wanted to know about the money, I said, my voice rising, hysteria bubbling at the back of my throat. The money you used to save the company. They said it triggered an alert. They said they are opening a RICO investigation. Do you know what RICO is, Clara? It's for mobsters. It's for organized crime. It's for people who kill people. I took a step closer, invading her space. Where did you get $2 million, Clara? And don't you dare tell me it was your 401k. I did the math in my head just now. You would have had to be earning CEO wages since 1980 to save that much cash. Where did it come from? Clara looked at the door, then back at me. She sighed, a long, weary sound that seemed to carry the weight of 1,000 secrets. She reached up and unclasped the pearl necklace she was wearing, the one I gave her for our 20th anniversary, and laid it on the table next to the brandy. It felt like she was taking off a costume. It wasn't my money, Elle, she said softly. Then whose was it? I demanded. Did you steal it? Did you borrow it from loan sharks? I laundered it, she said. The world stopped spinning. It just tilted on its axis and threw me off. What? I didn't work in logistics, Elena. Not really. I mean, I did, but that was the cover. In the 80s and 90s, I moved money for people who couldn't move it themselves. Importers, exporters, people who dealt in commodities that weren't exactly on the manifest. I stared at her, my mouth agape. The woman who knit blankets for my grandchildren. The woman who volunteered at the animal shelter. You were a money launderer? I was an accountant for bad men, she corrected, turning to face me. I was young, I was good with numbers, and I was invisible. A quiet single woman in a beige suit. No one looks twice at her. I skimmed off the top, a fraction of a percent here, a rounding error there. Over 20 years, it added up. I kept it in an offshore account, an emergency fund. I never touched it. I vowed I never would. She looked at me with pleading eyes. Until 5 years ago, until Richard died and David was going to destroy everything you built, I knew that money was dirty. I knew using it was a risk, but I couldn't let you lose your home. I couldn't let you live in poverty. So I brought it back. I washed it one last time and I poured it into the company. I felt like I was going to be sick.
The foundation of my life, the safety net that had caught me when my husband died, was woven from crime. My son was an embezzler. My partner was a money launderer. And I was the fool in the middle, throwing birthday parties and worrying about floral arrangements while sleeping on a bed of corruption. "You lied to me," I whispered, tears streaming down my face. "Every day for 30 years. You lay in my bed, you held my hand, and you lied." "I protected you," Clara cried, stepping forward. "I kept you clean. If I had told you, you would have been an accessory. I took the sin on myself so you could be the saint, Helena, just like tonight, just like always. I never asked to be a saint. I asked for a partner. I asked for the truth." Before she could answer, the room was washed in a sudden strobe-like illumination. Red, blue, red, blue. The lights danced across the bookcases, making the spines of the classics look like they were bleeding. The sirens cut through the night air, killing the suburban quiet. Not one siren, many. It sounded like an invasion. Clara moved away from the window instantly. She went to the desk and grabbed the ledger she had taken from the safe. "Helena, listen to me. They are going to come through that door in less than 2 minutes. You need to tell them you knew nothing. You need to say I was the financial advisor, that I handled the books, that you were just the grieving widow who signed where I told you to sign." "I am not going to lie for you." I backed away. "You have to," she pleaded, her composure cracking. "If they link you to the money, they will take the house. They will take your pension. They will put you in a cell next to me. Do you want to die in prison, Elle? Do you?" "I don't know who you are," I said, shaking my head. "I don't know you."
The interrogation room was a box of gray concrete and humming fluorescent lights, a stark contrast to the velvet-draped study we had been dragged from. The air smelled of stale coffee and fear. They had handcuffed me to the table, a metal loop welded into the surface, leaving me to stew in the revelation that had shattered my universe in the back of Agent Miller's car. She owned me. The thought replayed in my mind like a corrupted video file. Every anniversary dinner, every gift, every moment of comfort. Was it love, or was it asset management? Was I a partner, or was I a pet? The door buzzed and swung open. I expected Agent Miller, ready to grill me. Instead, the guard shoved Clara inside and slammed the door. She was still in her navy blue dress, but it was wrinkled now, the hem stained with mud from the walk to the transport van. Her hair was coming loose from its pins. She looked older, smaller. But when she saw me, that familiar spark, that fierce, protective intelligence lit up her eyes. She sat opposite me. They didn't cuff her to the table. They treated her differently. They treated her like a predator, dangerous, but respected. "Elle," she whispered, "are you okay?" "Don't," I said, pulling my hand away as she reached for it. "Don't you dare ask me that." "Miller showed me the papers, Clara, the incorporation documents from 1990. Clara sighed, leaning back in her metal chair. She didn't deny it. She didn't look for an exit. I figured he would. "You funded Richard," I said, my voice trembling with a mix of rage and awe. "You gave him the money to start the firm. You took 51% of the stock. You were the majority shareholder for 30 years. Why? Why did you do it?" Clara looked at the two-way mirror, knowing Miller was watching, knowing the tape was rolling. She looked back at me, and her expression softened into something heartbreakingly vulnerable. "Because you were pregnant with David," she said, "and Richard was broke." The air left my lungs. "What?" "It was 1990, Helena. Richard had gambled away his inheritance. He was going to move you into a rental in Queens. He was going to make you get a job waiting tables while raising a newborn. I couldn't watch that." She leaned forward, her eyes intense. "I had the money. I had the dirty money from the 80s. I couldn't spend it on myself without raising flags, but I could invest it. I approached Richard. I made him a deal. I would give him the capital to build the empire he always wanted, the life you deserved. In exchange, I owned the company. and I got to be around. You bought my husband so you could be near me? I bought you a future, she corrected. I bought you the house in Connecticut. I bought you the time to raise your children. I bought you the safety to be us. Richard knew he was working for me. He knew that if he ever hurt you, or if he ever tried to keep me away from you, I would pull the plug and bankrupt him. That's why he tolerated us, Elle. That's why he looked the other way for 30 years. He wasn't noble. He was an employee. I sat back, stunned. My entire marriage, the dignified arrangement I thought I had navigated so carefully, was a sham. Richard hadn't been a tolerant husband, he had been a hostage. And Clara hadn't been the suffering mistress. She had been the architect, the great Gatsby of the suburbs, building a castle just to watch the woman she loved live in it. It's twisted, I said, tears leaking from my eyes. It's manipulative, it's the most romantic and terrible thing I've ever heard. I'm a criminal, Helena, Clara said softly. I never claimed to be good. I only claimed to love you. The door buzzed again. This time, Agent Miller entered. But he wasn't alone. David walked in. My son looked refreshed. He had changed his shirt, God knows where he got it, and was holding a paper cup of coffee. He looked at us with a smug, self-righteous pity that made me want to scream. He sat in the chair at the end of the table, forming a triangle. Well, David said, taking a sip of coffee, this is a tragic end to the party, isn't it? You rat, Clara said, her voice low. You sold out your own mother. I made a deal, David shrugged. Immunity for my testimony. I told Agent Miller everything. How you, Aunt Clara, masterminded the money laundering through Dad's company. How you manipulated my mother into being your accomplice. It's a sad story, really. The elderly widow, confused and coerced by the career criminal. He looked at me. Don't worry, Mom. I told them you were a victim. If you sign the statement, you might get probation. Maybe house arrest. And you? I asked, my voice icy. What happens to you? I walk, he said. And since the company was used for criminal enterprise, the assets are frozen. But once the dust settles, I'm the heir. I'll rebuild, without the rot. Agent Miller leaned against the wall, watching the drama unfold. He's right, ladies. David has given us the Wraith. That's a big catch. We're willing to be lenient with Mrs. Vance if she cooperates. I looked at David. I saw the greed in his eyes. He didn't care about the law. He didn't care about morality. He just wanted the throne. He thought he had won. He thought he was the smartest man in the room because he was the only man in the room. But he forgot who built the room. I looked at Clara. She was staring at David with a look of pure calculation. She wasn't defeated. She was waiting. Agent Miller, Clara said crisply and professionally. You have the incorporation papers, correct? The ones that show I own 51% of Vance Corporation? I do. And as the majority shareholder, Clara continued, turning her gaze to David, I have certain rights, including the right to review executive compensation and authorization. David frowned. What are you talking about? Clara looked at me. A silent message passed between us. Trust me one last time. David claims he embezzled $2 million, Clara said to Miller. He claims he stole it. That makes him a thief. But what if he didn't steal it? I did steal it, David interrupted, realizing the trap too late. I mean, I moved it without permission. Did you? Clara reached into the pocket of her dress. Miller flinched, reaching for his gun, but she only pulled out a small silver flash drive. She slid it across the table to Miller. What is this? Miller asked. Minutes from a board meeting, Clara lied smoothly, dated 5 years ago. A meeting between myself, the majority shareholder, and Helena Vance, who held Richard's proxy. In that meeting, we authorized a $2 million bonus for David Vance. A bonus for services rendered. The room went silent. David's face went white. If it was a bonus, Miller said slowly, then it wasn't embezzlement. Exactly, Clara said. It was a gift. From the company. No! David stood up, knocking his chair back. No, you can't do that. If it was a bonus, then I didn't commit a crime.
If I didn't commit a crime, I have nothing to trade. My immunity deal is void. Correct, Clara said, a shark-like smile spreading across her face. But here's the kicker, David. If it was a bonus, and you didn't declare it on your taxes 5 years ago, that's tax evasion. That's a federal crime. And since there is no embezzlement investigation anymore, the FBI doesn't need your testimony against me, because I'm going to confess anyway. David looked at Miller. Miller was smiling now, a cruel, predatory smile. He looked at David like a piece of meat that had just put itself back on the menu. She's right, David, Miller said. If there's no theft, your plea deal for the theft is garbage. But the IRS, they're going to be very interested in that $2 million undeclared. You bitch! He lunged across the table at Clara. I didn't think. I didn't hesitate. I stood up, swinging my handcuffed wrists like a mace. I caught David in the chest, knocking him backward over his chair. He hit the floor with a heavy thud. Don't you touch her, I screamed, standing over my son, the mother lion protecting her mate. You are done, David. You are finished. You wanted the company? It's gone. You wanted the money? The IRS will take it all. You have nothing. David scrambled back, looking up at me with terror. He had never seen me like this. He had only ever seen the mask. Now he saw the face beneath it. Agent Miller stepped in, hauling David to his feet. Get him out of here. He barked to the guard outside. And call the IRS. Tell them we have a present for them. As they dragged David out, kicking and screaming about his rights, about his legacy, I felt a weight lift off my chest that had been there for 40 years. I watched the door close on my son, and I felt peace. I turned back to Clara. She was looking at me with awe. You realized, she said softly, you realized what I was doing. You sacrificed yourself, I said, sitting back down. By claiming it was a bonus, you admitted to controlling the dirty money. You gave them the confession they wanted. I was always going to prison, Elle, she said, reaching across the table. This time I took her hand. The feds have been tracking the Wraith for decades. They found me. It was over the moment I opened that safe. But this way David goes down too. And you?
She looked at Miller. Agent Miller, I am ready to make my full statement. I am the Wraith. I laundered the money. I used the Vance Corporation as a front. Helena Vance knew nothing. She was a figurehead, a housewife. She is innocent of all charges. Miller looked at Clara, then at me. He knew it was a lie. He knew I was smarter than that. But he also knew he had the big fish. He had the money launderer. He had the tax evader's son. He didn't need the grandmother. Fine, Miller said, sitting down and clicking his pen. We'll write it up that way. Mrs. Vance, you're free to go once we process your statement. No, I said. Clara squeezed my hand hard. Helena, go. I'm not leaving you, I said. Yes, you are, Clara said, her voice fierce. You are going to go home. You are going to sell that damn house. You are going to take whatever money is left that isn't frozen, my personal savings, the clean money, and you are going to live. You are going to travel. You are going to paint. You are going to do all the things we talked about in the dark. I can't do it without you, I sobbed. You have to, she said, because I need to know that one of us made it. I need to know that the 60 years weren't wasted. If you stay here, if you go to prison with me, then they win. David wins. The society that forced us to hide wins. Go out there, Helena. Be free for both of us. I looked at her. I memorized the lines of her face, the blue of her eyes. I knew she was right. I knew this was her final gift to me, the ultimate act of the architect. I leaned across the table and kissed her. I didn't care about the mirror. I didn't care about Agent Miller. I kissed her with 30 years of hunger and 5 hours of freedom. I love you.
I whispered against her lips. I know, she smiled. Now get out of here before I change my mind. 1 year later. The Tuscan sun is different from the sun in Connecticut. It's warmer, heavier. It smells of rosemary and dust, not freshly cut grass and judgment. I'm sitting on the terrace of a small villa, overlooking the vineyard. My easel is set up in front of me. The canvas is a mess of blues and navies, the color of her dress, the color of her eyes. I sold the mansion. It didn't cover everything after the lawyers and the fines, but it was enough. David is in federal prison for tax evasion. Catherine stopped speaking to me, which is the greatest peace I have ever known. Every Tuesday, I get a letter. It comes from a federal correctional facility in upstate New York. It is written on cheap, lined paper. I open today's letter. My dearest L. The library here is surprisingly good. I'm teaching a GED class to some of the younger inmates. They call me Professor. It's better than Aunt Clara. Miller came by yesterday. He says I might be eligible for parole in 3 years if I keep behaving. 3 years. It feels like a lifetime, but then I remember we waited 30. I hope you are painting. I hope you are drinking wine at noon. I hope you are living. I love you. C. I fold the letter and place it in the box with the others. I pick up my glass of wine, a deep, rich red. I look out at the horizon where the Italian sky meets the earth. I am 61 years old. I live alone in a foreign country. My lover is in a cell. My family is destroyed. I have lost my reputation, my home, and my standing. I take a sip of wine. It tastes like freedom. I pick up my brush and mix a new shade of blue. I am painting her portrait. I am painting her not as the shadow, not as the friend, but as the woman who bought me the world. And when she gets out, I will be waiting. I look directly into the camera lens, the Tuscan sun illuminating my face, no longer hidden by makeup or pretense. My name is Helena Vance. I lived a lie for 60 years, but today I am telling the truth. And the truth is, it is never too late to burn your life down to build something real from the ashes.